after MIT. I worked on that project at MIT for 2 years. Yeah. We developed a system that should be marketed. We started up the company to produce those systems. We called it a electronic director. We went as far as making a tape that would, magnetic tape, big reel, and mounted on the milling machine that it was controlling. Well, my first part of the project was that I designed the electronics that was going to record the tape. I was involved in getting them the systems installed, and they were all being sold to large companies that were manufacturing military aircraft. I'd heard a lot about digital, and they were a group that came out of MIT and started the company, and so I had faith in them. My first job was to help to deliver a system. They were customizing a system for a customer that wanted a special computer. And digital was small enough so they would do a thing like that. And they wanted me to install the system. It took us, 3 months or so to install a place in Boston. I did another thing, and it was I designed the company's first set of circuits, special circuits. They had a whole flock of them themselves. They were vacuum tube, and I designed these transistor devices like flip-flops, and I then went into sales, and I was very interested in doing that. It was a change of life. I was interested in it. I also love to meet people and talk to them, and I'd prefer to do that than sit in an engineering office and design something. Well, I owned a house where I had lived before I went to Europe, and I still owned it. It was in Bedford. It was about 2.5 years on their finance committee. I was the head of the finance committee in my last year there in Bedford, yes, on the town finance committee. I retained ownership and put it in the hands of a real estate agent and said, see if you can rent it. And he found someone to rent it. And when we came back after 2.5 years, we sold it, and the people who were renting it bought it. So that solved that problem quickly. When I was sent to Europe by the company, they put me in charge of the sales operation in Central Europe, Germany, Holland, Belgium. That was quite an opportunity for me, but I had gotten into sales before then. When we went to Germany, we had all 6 children, and we lived in a suburb of Cologne. It was a lot of work because in arranging the education for them, the first year we were there, not all the children were in school, and we were in the American part of Germany. If I can say it for myself, I was fantastically successful in Germany, and I didn't know the language. It was not as bad as I thought, I gradually built our business up to the point where we ran ahead of England. My boss was in England. I stayed another 1.5 years, so I was there 2.5 years. And by then they had a bad need in the central U.S. area. When I came back from Germany, I went to the Midwest, just outside of Chicago, north of Chicago. And my section was from western Pennsylvania to east by a couple of 100 miles from Chicago, and from the Canadian border to the Mexican border. Texas was in it. So it was, there were big chunks very rapidly. We were hiring like crazy. When after 3.5 years, I was appointed North American sales manager. I had 2 of the 3 countries in North America. I had Canada and the U.S. Well, I didn't stay in Chicago. The family stayed there until the end of the school year, and that was about 3 months. When I came back, I rented a house in Harvard for 2 years, and I began, as a young adult, sketching houses all the time as a hobby and as a dream. But the final sketch was a lot bigger, and because now I'd been doing all right at digital, and well, I had these 4 regions, and Canada was counted as a region, so I was managing in my 5 regions, Canada and the U.S., which incidentally was 70% of the company's total business, at least when I was through. So I was living in the big house in Harvard when I retired. I retired early. After I retired from digital, I moved to Concord.